This video is dedicated to the memory of Nick Buonaconti, former linebacker of the Miami Dolphins, a member of the 1972 perfect season, and the only player of the no-name defense to be in the Hall of Fame, and is co-founder of the Miami Project to Cure Paralysis. He passed away on July 30th at the age of 78. The greatest cartoon characters of all time, classic television, exciting football in the spring. This is the USCFL Network, celebrating 40 years of excellence.
YouTube, the American Association of Animation and First and 10 Productions presents the USCFL pregame show. An inside look into the United States Cartoon Football League and a preview of tonight's featured game, right here on the USCFL Network, presented by Robbie Graham.
Greetings, cartoon and football fans, and fans of She-Ras. This is Robbie Graham of the USCFL Network as we continue to chronicle a unique event between the She-Ras of yesterday and the She-Ras of today. We are pitting one episode from each series in chronological order for the new series and at random for the original series, and pitting them up in terms of similarity, style, and presentation. After one round, the original She-Ras is on top 6-3. And from this video onward, two episodes will be chronicled in each video until this tournament ends. And remember, at the end of 13 weeks and 25 rounds, the She-Ras that scores the most points will win. And we are using the same point system as in football, where 0 is an episode that is absolutely lousy to 8, an episode that is exceptional. Again, it is the equivalent of a touchdown plus the 2-point conversion. And with this video and the next two videos after this, we're going to take a look back at Filmation's time in the USCFL in 2019. The Jim Henson All-Stars, as I had mentioned in the first video, defeated the Hanna-Barbera All-Stars in the Disney Bowl. They won 54-23. The Jim Henson All-Stars scored 280 points for themselves and only allowing 78 points on their opponents. And that's pretty good stats considering it's only a 6-game season. But the Jim Henson All-Stars took on 6 very unique teams with very unique quarterbacks, some of which are the best well-known characters of all time. With Hanna-Barbera, they took on Daphne Blake, who we call the First Lady of the USCFL. Prior to that, in the semifinals, they took on the Warner Brothers All-Stars and their quarterback, Bugs Bunny of the Looney Tunes. Before that, in the quarterfinals, they took on Team Canada and Izzy of the Total Drama series. In the third round, they took on the Disney All-Stars, their corporate cousins, and probably their leader, Mickey Mouse. In the second round, they took on the comic strip All-Stars and Charlie Brown of the Peanuts Gang. But it was game 1 that the Jim Henson All-Stars faced that we're talking about in this particular video, because they took on the Filmation All-Stars in game 8 with She-Ras as the quarterback. And the controversy that has surrounded her over the last year or so had portrayed a role as to how she would do in 2019 on the gridiron. So let's take a look back at Game 8 of the USCFL's 2019 season. It is week 4 of the first round and the final game of the first round from Denver, as the Filmation All-Stars takes on the Jim Henson All-Stars. Not since the time Judge Doom tried to frame Roger Rabbit, no cartoon character in recent memory has had as much trouble and controversy as She-Ras. Because of the reboot and the firestorm it caused, which was unnecessary, She-Ras had enough and challenged her counterpart to an exhibition match in November and lost in spite of the entire league supporting her. She-Ras challenged her counterpart again in March, and this time was victorious. It was nearly 1 month to the day that she and the Filmation All-Stars would play their first game of the season against the Jim Henson All-Stars in Denver. The result of this game would determine the schedule for round 2. The game was played 1 day after the second season of the new She-Ras series aired on Netflix. The social media crucifixion of the original She-Ras continued, and her play on the field that day suffered as a result. But no one knew what kind of team Jim Henson would have in 2019, and Filmation learned this very quickly. Jim Henson got on the board quickly with a 47-yard field goal by Rolf to get with 13:25 left in the first quarter. Filmation couldn't get a drive going on their opening possession. When they got the ball again, first, Elmo of Sesame Street sacked She-Ras for a 7-yard loss. On the next play, running back Spinnerella fumbled the ball at the 15 and was recovered by Oscar the Grouch, also of Sesame Street. Filmation challenged the call and it was overturned. Filmation got a break but had to end up punting on 4th down thanks to another She-Ras sack, this time by Sweetums of The Muppet Show. With half a field to work with, Jim Henson failed to get a touchdown but got another field goal by Rolf to go up 6-0 with 4:17 left in the first quarter. The first quarter ended with Jim Henson leading 6-0. Then, in the second quarter, it all unraveled for Filmation and exploded for Jim Henson. With being short of a first down to start the second quarter, Rolf put up his third field goal to give Jim Henson a 9-0 lead with 13:41 left in the first half. Filmation's first half problems continued after She-Ras' third sack of the game, this time by the Swedish chef of The Muppet Show. Jim Henson was in full control except for not being able to get into the end zone. Rolf kicked his fourth field goal from 35 yards out, and Jim Henson was on top 12-0 with 7:03 left in the half. Nothing Filmation did seemed to work. Even She-Ras tried to gain yards by running. She fumbled the ball and it was recovered by Ernie of Sesame Street at the Jim Henson 37. On the next play, Kermit the Frog completed a pass to tight end Big Bird to midfield. Filmation challenged the call that he did not make the catch in bounds. The call was upheld, and Filmation couldn't challenge any more calls, which was another strike against him that day. Jim Henson could do no wrong in the first half except get a touchdown. Even a fumble by Miss Piggy was in their favor. From the Filmation 32, Rolf kicked his 5th field goal to go up 15-0 with 2:01 left in the half. Working without a huddle, She-Ras tried her best to get points on the board, but to no avail. Kermit the Frog unloaded a 49-yard strike to Gonzo of the Muppet Show to put them in scoring position again. With under a minute left, Kermit the Frog ran the ball in from 2 yards out on a quarterback draw. The touchdown, the only one of the game, gave Jim Henson a 22-0 lead with 25 seconds left in the half. With one last chance, Spinnerella fumbled the ball and was recovered by the Cookie Monster. Taking their final timeout before halftime, Rolf kicked his 6th field goal as Jim Henson went into the locker room with a 25-0 lead. There hasn't been a shutout in the USCFL since 2007, and She-Ras, along with the Masters of Power, were behind it. Now it looked as if Filmation would be the next shutout victim. If Filmation couldn't win the game, their plan in the second half was to avoid the shutout. In spite of the fumble, Spinnerella was one of the few bright spots Filmation had. She rushed for over 100 yards by the third quarter. They got the ball first in the second half, lasting more than 3 minutes, and were moving the ball well until the Swedish chef got his second sack on She-Ras. Their drive was stalled at the Jim Henson 35, but She-Ra's alter ego Adora kicked a 52-yard field goal to avoid the shutout. Filmation was down 25-3 with 10:29 left in the third quarter. Jim Henson's first possession of the second half picked up where they left off in the first half. Kermit the Frog threw for 255 yards at this stage. She-Ras didn't have 100 yards at the same time. Kermit threw another long pass to Gonzo, this time for 44 yards, which helped set up yet another field goal. Jim Henson had a commanding 28-3 lead with 8:52 left in the third quarter. On their next possession, She-Ras unloaded a bomb herself to Glimmer for 31 yards. However, she got hit as she threw and was injured. She did leave the game, but only for a few plays. Her brother, He-Man, took over. He-Man's style of play is similar to that of his sister. With She-Ras back in the game a few plays later, she still couldn't get her team in the end zone. Adora kicked a 40-yard field goal, but Filmation still trailed 28-6 with 6:39 left in the third quarter. Every time Jim Henson had the ball, a score was inevitable. The Swedish chef got another sack of She-Ras on Filmation's next possession, then got another sack by Sweetums. Yes, Jim Henson, kick a good woman when she's down. The third quarter ended with Filmation still trailing 28-6. After both teams traded a pair of 3-and-outs, Jim Henson continued their scoring onslaught. Jim Henson got into Filmation's red zone, but not the end zone. Rolf kicked his 8th field goal to give Jim Henson a 31-6 lead with 11:27 left to play. Within a minute, Fat Albert committed 2 holding penalties, the second coming after Bert of Sesame Street intercepted a She-Ras pass and ran it back to the Filmation 13. Despite the great field position, Jim Henson still couldn't get into the end zone again. Rolf kicked another field goal, and Jim Henson was up 34-6 with 9:23 left to play. She-Ras became the Swedish chef's blue plate special as he sacked her for the 4th time. She-Ras only had 95 yards passing at this stage of the game. After Jim Henson got the ball, it was status quo. They couldn't get another touchdown, and Rolf continued to kick his team to victory. His 10th field goal gave Jim Henson a 37-6 lead with 6:12 left to play. There was still time for Filmation to save face. Spinnerella did help Filmation out as she had 149 yards rushing at this stage. She-Ras finally got hot with her passing that included a long pass to Bo that put Filmation in the red zone for the first time in the game. Filmation was denied a touchdown in spite that they were at the Jim Henson 5. Adora's third field goal cut the lead 37-9 with 2:07 left to play. An onside kick worked in Jim Henson's favor. It led to Rolf's record-time 11th field goal as time expired and a 40-9 victory. Rolf now shares this record with the kicker of the team he helped to beat. The Swedish chef earned MVP honors. Less than a month before, She-Ras felt confident after her win over her counterpart. Now she left Denver thoroughly beaten. This was the last game of the first round. From this point on, the teams would play against each other based on their prior performances, and no team was eliminated in round 1, and no team would get the axe in round 2. And for the Jim Henson All-Stars, as they would say on Sesame Street, this game was presented by the letters V and W and by the number 40. The video you just heard will be part of a much larger video that will be coming out to YouTube in the near future called 2019, A Season to Remember. And this will chronicle the entire 2019 season in the USCFL. And with that said, on to our reviews of the next 2 rounds of this special competition. Remember this. My friends in the USCFL group are listening to these episodes instead of watching them. And believe it or not, in spite of the fact that they're not watching these episodes, their reactions to the episodes of the new series is about the same as some of you who have seen the new series and have commented on. So let's get started then with round 2 of this competition. For round 2, both shows center around a character called Madam Raz, R-A-Z-Z. In the new series, the new She-Ras and Adora meet Madam Raz. In the original series, the original Madam Raz saves the original She-Ras. And therefore, round 2 is the following. The new She-Ras episode called Raz versus the original series episode called 3 Courageous Hearts. And like most of you, my friends in the USCFL group gave a similar score to the new episode. And we will tell you the score of the original episode. For the new series, just like with the first episode, my friend who commented before said the same thing, that he could not follow the storyline in this episode, and gave the new series episode 3 points, while he gave the original episode, 3 Courageous Hearts, 7 points. He said that he was able to follow the story well, and that it was properly written and enjoyable. And with that, and we have to do it in football terms, again, this is a fantasy football league, and we have to do it in football terms. The reason why the original She-Ras did not get an extra point after scoring the first touchdown was because the new She-Ras blocked the extra point attempt. But the original She-Ras got the 7 points off of another touchdown, and this time was successful with the extra point attempt. But the new She-Ras was not able to get into enemy territory to score a touchdown and had to settle for another 3 points. So after round 2, the score is now the original She-Ra 13, the new She-Ra 6. And now we will give you the results of the reviews for round 3. For round 3, the episodes were so similar that they almost looked the same in title and they almost performed the same on TV. And for round 3, it went like this. It was the original She-Ra episode called Flowers for Hordak versus the new She-Ra episode series, Flowers for She-Ra. Both episodes surround another character named Perfuma. And in both series, the situation was almost identical, where Perfuma outsmarts the Horde in both episodes. But here's how the reviews for these 2 episodes went. For the original episode, my friend who gave the comments in the previous 2 rounds said that the episode was phenomenal, spectacular, and he actually gave it 8 points. It's the first exceptional score in this tournament so far. And he did that because I pointed out to him that the show has more of a comedic nature. And there is nothing wrong with doing a comedy episode every now and then to break the monotony. The original Star Trek episode, The Trouble with Tribbles, is a prime example of this. And for the new She-Ra episode, just like with the previous 2 rounds, he only gave it a score of 3 points because he still could not follow the storylines properly. And again, these shows are not being shown visually, but in audio format. So in football terms, this is how it would have looked. The original She-Ra got another touchdown and this time converted the 2-point conversion and made up for the extra point that they missed in round 1. And again, She-Ra was able, the new She-Ra I mean, to get into enemy territory but not score a touchdown and yet had to settle for another 3 points. So after the end of the 3rd round, the score is now the original She-Ra 21, the new She-Ra 9. But there's still plenty of tournament left to go. We still have 22 more rounds left in this tournament. And next Sunday, you will see a new video featuring the next 2 rounds in this tournament, along with Filmation's next game in the USCFL season. And that will be it for now. And until next weekend, I remain humbly, obediently yours. Goodbye for now.